your world.
And a very warm welcome to you wherever it is you're tuned in from Kenya, East Africa and around the world. Welcome to the Agri Africa Expo 2023. We are coming to you live from KICC in Achili, Nairobi. My name is Brian Jojotieno, a broadcast journalist with NTV Kenya. I will be the moderator for this panel today that will be speaking about all things food security, food safety, climate change and its effects to agriculture, and so much more concerning how we practice agriculture today in Kenya and of course across the board and how it affects our own livelihoods. And with me here is a five-personnel panel. I will be introducing them shortly. To my immediate right is Mr. Josephat Muhunyu, who is Agriculture Secretary domiciled under the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Up next is Ernest Chitechi, who is representing Kenya Climate Innovation Center, which is KCIC, and the legendary Tegler Orupe, Ambassador Tegler Orupe, I dare say that, Ambassador Tegler Orupe, who is a former athlete and now is a champion for all things agriculture. She'll be telling us shortly what she does. Up next is Anton from Unga Group. Good to see you, sir. And last but not least is Cleophas Busiene, who is the Chief Operations Manager representing AFEX Nigeria here in Kenya. The hashtag to use is hashtag Agri Africa Expo 2023. Please remember to tweet and talk about all things agriculture here today. We want to start off with a lot of these conversations that will be, of course, airing and talked about throughout this conference that will take about 4 days or so, climaxing on Friday the 12th of May. Welcome wherever it is you're tuned in from. We want to start off. Mr. Muhunyu, I want to start with you. The agriculture numbers from the Kenya Economic Survey targeting the numbers for 2022 are out, and agriculture has contracted once again. I don't know what you have to comment about that. Where is the rain beating us up?
Thank you very much, Brian. And I really agree with you that agriculture didn't do very well. And one thing that is key is that our farming systems, our food systems are heavily relying on rainfall. You realize that eventually it may not be the rain that we require, it is the water. So throughout that hunger period, the drought period, a lot of lessons have been learned that we really need to harvest water to use for irrigation and farming. When we rely on the rains alone, then we may be having a similar cycle, because it is known after a period of time, drought is coming. So the major challenge is our farming systems, our food systems, and we believe that we have learned a lot. We need to harvest water. Thank you.
Amazing, and we'll talk about that and much more of concerning particularly the drought situation we're witnessing, which is perhaps the worst in the Horn of Africa. We'll talk about that in another short while. So now, Ernest, with those sentiments that are from Mr. Muhunyu on our agricultural practice, we can't run away from the fact that we are not as innovative as we should be, particularly in a place where land is of course a diminishing factor of production, and our practice is also not as good. Then there is also the issue of post-harvest losses, which he will speak to in a short while. What are some of the innovations that we should adopt so that we are food secure as a country? We're talking about things to do with hydroponic farming and the like.
Okay, thank you. We talk about innovation in agriculture. Go that look at one of them is that everyone.
Sorry for that. Would like you to take another microphone. Yeah, Anton, please pass it forward. All right, there you go.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so when we are talking about innovation in agriculture, we should look at it in two fronts, and this is in terms of achieving our long-term food security and also increasing productivity, because these are the two most critical areas within agriculture. So if we are talking about innovations, there's currently many solutions around smart farming, where we are looking at automation, precision agriculture, and all these are just geared towards what my colleague here has mentioned, that Kenya currently relies on rain-fed agriculture. So some of the innovations that we've seen around is that since we are in a situation where there's climate change, there's need to have, for example, drought tolerance crops that have already been developed. We could also look at things like early maturing crops that then can mature within the short time that we have the rainfall for those who actually are dependent on rain-fed agriculture. But for those who also want to do other things, could also look at harvesting now the rain. Because we have now a lot of rain now, we could harvest that water, use that water to irrigate. We could also now adopt more innovative solutions around smart irrigation systems that will incorporate technology so that you only irrigate when the crop needs water. We have seen many of our enterprises coming up with innovations where I could actually have my farm in Turkana, for example, but I'm in Nairobi and I can still irrigate that farm using my mobile phone. Also to achieve food security, for most of us who stay in Nairobi, we stay maybe in apartments and we may need a small kitchen farm. We've also seen innovations that are coming up around vertical farming, where I could put up a small kitchen garden around on my balcony, and it could be also able to provide me with my vegetable needs for the day. So as we look at all these things, we know there are many issues, and I'm sure he'll talk about it. Even in terms of post-harvest losses, we realize almost 30% of what is produced end up being lost because of post-harvest losses. So there are technologies that can able to preserve the cereals. We should do more value addition. Like just about 2 months ago, we were in Ukambani, and you see there was a lot of mangoes, and all over the market they're going to waste. If you visit some of our entrepreneurs, you realize some of them are now drying those mangoes. So instead of those mangoes actually going to waste because somebody has not utilized them, they could do some additional value addition, like either drying, converting them into pulp, and all this will enhance our food security. Thanks.
Amazing. I like the way you're extending the whole value chain again to cater for other byproducts that could be used even in now, processed and used for animal feed. But I'd like to engage Anton at this point. Anton, we have come from one of the worst droughts ever witnessed in the sub-Sahara, and particularly in this side of the Horn of Africa. You as the supply chain official at Unga Group, how has this affected your procurement, especially with regard to supply from farmers and from the people that you trade with?
As you've quite said, we've experienced suboptimal conditions for the past 3 years, and it's really made procurement for Unga very, very tough. We try and source as much as we can locally, and the conditions really were not great, but I'm proud to say that as far as we could, we've procured locally, specifically the white maize. All of it is locally produced, and you know, Unga is in a special relationship with farmers. We are both off-taker and we're also a supplier, and we can only prosper if farmers prosper. So that's why we always try and attend events like this, understand the potential for new technologies, and what potential support there is from government and parastatals and NGOs, because the farmer needs to prosper, right? We cannot exist without the farmer, and it's very important for us that the farming community is healthy and thriving, so we can procure the raw materials we need, and convert that into animal feeds and provide that service to the farmers, and ultimately provide affordable, sustainable and good quality food for Kenya as a whole.
I'd like to get into a little bit more detail. I'm going to stay with you on this topic. I'd like to get you to go into a little bit more of detail, particularly on the cost element of production from your end. Was there an adjustment in the company overheads, in the factory overheads, particularly with regard to, of course, now when you're procuring perhaps at a higher price because the farmer also needs to make a good return on it. And then, of course, that cost is passed on to the consumer. So was there an effect of that? You don't have to give too much detail if you don't have to. Perhaps percentages would do for this, because I understand there could be some in-house administrative and company agreements, yeah.
Yes, it is unfortunately correct. Due to the drought, maize prices has doubled almost. I think everyone is well aware of that. You know, we pay a fair price to farmers. We are one of the organizations that you know, we always in the top percentile of what we offer farmers when we buy wheat, when we buy maize or pulses. And there's a good reason for that, because as UNGA, we are committed to providing quality and nutritious and specifically safe product to our consumers. And we're willing to pay a premium for that. So we have stringent quality requirements, specifically for maize, and we're prepared to pay a premium for that. Unfortunately, we have to also then pass on that premium to the consumer. If we talk specifically for the agri sector, I know everyone is aware of the high price of broiler feed, of layer feed, and it has a negative impact on the whole environment. It makes the cuckoo more expensive, it makes eggs more expensive. Some farmers are exiting the layer farming because it's too expensive for them to sell eggs competitively. And ultimately that's not what we want, because if the farmer exits, it means that we're losing a customer. So at the moment, we are very grateful for the government of Kenya allowing us to import some yellow corn.
Okay.
And you know, we are committed to pass on that saving to the average farmer, so that we can again grow the business, we can recover from the drought. I think the forecast for this season is that it will be either El Nino or at least neutral, which means, as you can see from today, the rains have started again, which we're all very grateful for. And a little inconvenience, I'm sure, is okay. But yes, we need to help the farmers recover, and also for the farmers to compete within Kenya and provide good and nutritious foodstuffs to every Kenyan.
Okay, great. And that means you're importing is duty-free, right? Good
Yes.
to mention. Perfect.
Yes.
Good. I'm going to come back to you on subsidies, because this is important, and the role of that in the previous administration to your supply and the business entirely. But before I talk about the financing bit, or which is AFEX's role, and of course financing farmers and farm inputs, and that actually had an effect on agriculture performance in the economic survey of 2023, but we'll talk about that later. I want to come to Tegla. Balozi, we are not so food secure. Last year, the Agriculture Ministry came out and said a couple of counties were in the red, around 12 counties were in the red. They were not necessarily producing as much, and about 2.1 million people were staring at starvation. So what is the role, because of the topic we're supposed to be discussing is, what is the role of food security, particularly to peace and agriculture for peace, which is within your role as an ambassador?
Thank you very much, and I want to thank the people who put this project together. when we talk about, let me talk about sports first of all. For somebody to do good sports, you need to have food, and you need to have organic food.
Nutritious food.
Yes, yes. Of which also I'm proud that Africa continent we still have. But the problem that we do have is that nobody want to put a lot of effort in agriculture. When there is no food, people start to steal. And when there is no enough such resources, you realize that one community can only stand on livestock. When I see here livestock and agriculture and livestock. Yes, yeah. I talk from the background from West Pokot, where I come from, that we depend most of the time with animals. And whom to blame here? I think I might take the blame also to the government, because you need to give knowledge to your people, cut cross. And when you give that knowledge, people will have mixed farming. It's like us as sports people. When I run long distance, I will realize that I'm not good at 10,000, but I need to do maybe marathon. It applies to the farmers. Somebody can have cows, and you realize cows cannot be enough for my family. Let me shift to farming. So why I'm bringing this is that if we give everybody opportunity to grow food, there will be no shortage in this country. And then another thing that you need to encourage your people, as what sports people encourage one another to bring world record in this country or in this continent. What we are lacking is that we don't care about other people's effort. For example, Kenya, we should not be talking about the shortage of food. Why? Because we encourage people to buy food from outside the country instead of giving knowledge to the people in your in the countries, and especially nowadays that we do have counties. Why don't we encourage those farmers? Why don't we help even small-scale farmers? And another issue that makes people not to grow food is issue of climate. We destroy our nature and nobody cares about. How will you grow food when you do not have rain? I don't know who is from the government here. Maybe I'm just taking a blame to my brother at the end. You are waiting for years. That today it's raining so much.
Yeah.
But we just let water run down. And we start to ask embassies, can you help us to have boreholes? Really, are you crazy that you cannot just take some little resources that the country have and harvest water? And this water can be used by irrigation. Where is our knowledge? Where is our brain? So let's do what sports people do.
Yeah. Mr. Muhunyu, do you want to respond to Ambassador? And as we continue the conversation, remember to tweet hashtag Agri Africa Expo 2023. I hope you're preparing your questions, because there will be an open session where we ask questions. That is to the audience, and of course, will be some of them from you who are watching from home or from the office. Yes, please respond to Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for the comment. Actually, it is true that we may not be doing very well, especially on areas of water harvesting. You realize that water harvesting technologies are diverse, and therefore they call for investment. And I would say that we've been working with the development partners who have been assisting us with doing this work. World Bank has a number of projects where we are doing micro projects in the counties where communities are having dams and also water ponds, especially for livestock use. Because that is where, again, when the rains go, that is where we have a big challenge. We also have others where we are having heavy infrastructure by African Development Bank in other countries, in other counties. And the issue here is that we need to understand that this is a concerted effort. We have to do this, all of us, not just the government. The government may give the environment, the conducive environment, but when it comes now to the investment, even the farmer, even buying that small container, 100 liter, 200 liter, the farmer should know that that water can assist, even for domestic use. So if we are able to conceptualize and we see these needs, and of course it calls for a lot of training, then we will be there to know that we need the water. For the developed countries, even where they are doing a lot of irrigation like Israel, they started from that low point. So even as we have to know the correct direction, and then we move together as a family. Thank you.
Amazing. And we're going to handle that collaborative effort from private sector, development partners, NGOs, and of course the government as the regulator, and of course the one producing, or rather giving the enabling environment for private sector players like AFEX to do their thing in Kenya. Cleophas, I want to come to you now. One of the things that has really come out from the economic survey, and I'm going to base a lot of my discussions off of that because that's a direct mirror to what we are handling today as a country, is with regard to the cost of production and the cost of farming. Mbolea, or loosely put, fertilizer, is a big thing in this part of the world because we depend on that to be able to produce. Of course, coupled with a lot of other things, the inflation that we saw, which is averaged at about 7.7%, according to that report, again, is also affected the cost of production for farmers. You as a financier, are these realities that you are aware of on the ground, and how are you working with farmers to be able to mitigate around this, so that when they are supplying to Anton, they are able to make a good return on their supply? And by the way, all of the panelists are open to respond to any question. Yes, go ahead, Cleophas.
Thank you. I think I just want to reiterate what you've said, that the cost of production basically has gone up, and that is what makes most farmers not to maximize production. That is when our FX comes in, to make sure that we finance the farmers to make sure that they are getting quality seeds, they're making sure that they get enough inputs. For example, if you want to, let's talk about maize. If, for example, you're doing an acre needs 10 kgs of seed, it needs 100 kilos of fertilizers, it needs 100 kilos of top dressing. So, all round, it needs some financing. So, for farmers to make sure that they maximize on production, they need money to purchase the inputs. So, like we as FX, and something else also that makes farmers to maximize on production is, are they getting market out of it? When you invest heavily on farming, where are you going to sell?
So there's a question of market access.
That is the question of the market access. Okay. That is where now FX will come in. We make sure that we support farmers to produce, and also we offer market. Okay. Yeah. So one of the major challenges that farmers are also going through after investing heavily on farming is the farming practices. Who is willing to offer extension services? Who can guide farmers on farm preparation, weed control, insect control, post-harvest control? That is where now we as private sector, working hand in hand with the government, we support farmers to make sure that if they invest heavily on farming, we also have the whole journey. We travel the whole journey from production to the market to make sure that at the end of the season, farmers are remaining with some money in their pocket. Yeah. Amazing.
We'll also handle that in another short while. I want to capture a bit of reactions from the crowd. Anyone with any question before we go before we go on a short commercial break? Anyone? All right. All right, there we go. Governor and the gentleman behind the governor. We just want to allow me to take a break. My director is telling me we'll take a break and then we'll be back with much more. We are having discussions here about the agricultural sector. This is the Agri Africa Expo happening at KICC 2023. Please do make a point of passing by and engage us. Hashtag Agri Africa 2023. We'll be back after the short break. Don't go too far.
Oh my.
Why are you watching? Why are you watching such scary? What?
Never that serious, relax, man. I think she's a bit more anxious than me over time.
This is teamwork. No, you can hold the baby's leg.
No, hold your mom. Your mom is the one who's more stressed. I can't even tell.
So you hold the bottle at an angle. At an angle, parallel to the ground. Parallel to the ground like this. Parallel. I got a D.
But you speak Swahili.
My swear was much harder than yours. But I was saying, did you roll your eyes at me?
Yes, it was a side eye. Bombastic side eye.
What is a bombastic side eye?
Criminal offensive side eye.
Aki watoto lakini wanaleangwa, lakini good.
In your paper this week, major lenders pull out of ECOP. China takes over funding as its firm clinched deals to build the $165 million US pipeline. Juba fears oil exports will halt as Sudan war rages. Plus our opinion leaders. Mugabe daughter's divorce case will open a huge can of worms. Generali Ulimwengu. Uganda collects trash as Sweden build roads to charge EV cars. Joachim Buembo. When rains bring joy and tears to Ugandans and Rwandans. Charles Onyango Obo. Society needs to open eyes and get up from its knees. Tingugi Magazine. Crossing hard borders. How civilians are escaping from Sudan war. For these and more stories, get your copy of the East African.
Oh, yeah.
Friends becoming family. Home-cooked meal. Ice-cold Coke. That's the recipe for magic. Make your mealtime more magical. Buy any participating pack. Check under the cap to get your code and stand a chance to win free food shopping for a year, plus millions in instant cash, airtime, and shopping vouchers.
Maybe you and I loved each other, but I don't remember it. When I listen to my heart, I feel gratitude and respect, but it isn't love, and I can't marry without love.
Why did you bring it home instead of leaving it at the office?
Right, I should have left it there. I'll return it. Here.
I'll do it myself.
I found it and will give it back.
I won't.
I don't want it to end up like what happened to Yana's ring. Give it.
Looking for learning material that is tailored to your needs? Look no further than the New High Schooler magazine. As the ultimate guide for junior, secondary, and high school students, the New High Schooler magazine is packed with premium content on a wide range of topics including careers, literature, finance, and much more. With this magazine, you'll have access to valuable information that can help you make informed decisions about your future. So why wait? Subscribe to the New High Schooler today.
Daring Abroad makes me dare. It's the only show of its kind in the world. And now, It's bigger.
And even more entertaining and informative than before.
Hapa kunaitwa Kakoe na inatubaba sana.
From London to Jersey Island.
Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo to the scenic features of Uganda, the Pearl of Africa.
And many more places abroad and at home.
I watch Daring Abroad. I like the stories which people bring.
Daring Abroad every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. with repeats every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. on NTV.
Get ready to tantalize your taste buds and embark on a culinary journey with Pishi Bomba, the ultimate cooking show that brings the flavors of the world right into your living room. Tune in this Sunday at 6:30 p.m. with me, Claire Karatu, for a mouth-watering adventure.
Pishi Bomba in association with Coca-Cola.
Make your mealtime more magical. Buy any participating pack. Check under the cap to get your code and stand a chance to win free food shopping for a year, plus millions in instant cash, airtime, and shopping vouchers.
NTV, turning on your world.
We are live from KICC at the Agri Africa Expo 2023. Hashtag Agri Africa Expo 2023. That's the handle you can find us on Twitter. We're having conversations about food security, food safety, production, and the practice of farming here in Kenya and how to make sure that Kenya is food secure. I have quite the number of guests with me here today. Mr. Muhunyu, he is Agriculture Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Ernest Chitechi from KCIC. Ambassador Tegla Lerupe, who is here as Ambassador for Agriculture for Peace. Anton Ustizen, who is from Unga Group. And last but not least, Cleophas Busiene, who is to my far right from AFEX, who is the financier for most farmers. They're participating here at the Agri Expo Africa 2023, live from Sarit. Welcome wherever it is you're watching from. We want to now go into a bit of question and answer session from the audience. And before we went on that break, he was speaking about the cost of production, and you'd like to comment on the same. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much once again. Kindly allow me to link the issue of the cost of production and what the ambassador talked about, the alternative livelihoods, where a farmer is able to do what he or she likes. You realize that when we talk of the cost of production, maybe mathematically, you find that if I take the example of maize, a farmer who is producing 40 bags per acre, and another farmer who is producing 10 bags per acre, then if you are to compute the cost of production, you realize that the higher the productivity, that is mathematically, the lower the cost of production. Unfortunately, we have been having scenarios where our production levels have been very low, so that the cost of producing one bag of maize becomes very, very, very high. So what we are working as a government, and we are working hard to do, is to educate farmers to do the right farming system in the right place, so that if it is maize, where is maize suitably grown? And again, based on our suitability mapping, you find that when you grow maize in the most suitable area, the cost of production will definitely be down. But in there are cases where we grow maize in areas where it does not even more than 2 feet, yet you use the same quantity of fertilizer, same quantity of seed. So we didn't need to look at our suitability mapping for us to be able to take care of the cost of production. Thank you.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like now to recognize the presence of the PS, who is our chief guest, Mr. Philip Arasama. Please, let's welcome him with a hand clap, kindly. Most welcome, sir. We were just having discussions, in the last topic that we were talking about was the cost of production for the farmers and how that can be mitigated amidst all these global shocks that we're witnessing currently and the inflation. But we're going to the live question from the floor of the House, and I'd like to engage Governor who came first, who lifted his hand first. The former Governor for Kiambu, James Nyoro, is here with us. I'd like to ask a question to one of the panelists. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, moderator and the panel. A great presentation. My name is James Nyoro. Outside what he talked about, I run import-export business for food crops. And that is where I want to start. I think the purpose of this meeting is Expo Africa. And I'm sure there are people from across the region. I think one thing that we need to appreciate is that there's going to be spots of drought and spots of excess rain within the region. If you look at the Tanzanian map, all the way from Kigoma down, that is the western side where they have started harvesting. By the time they come to Singinda side, the central part, they are still harvesting. As Kenya, we have not even started. By the time you come to Moshi, Morogoro, they are harvesting when we are harvesting. So we have to agree and accept that trade is going to be one of those. And the way we can, I'm happy the government now is encouraging trade. I want to see more of that in agriculture, because sometimes you hear Tanzania has blocked its border, maize is no longer passing. At what point does that occur? And I know in this panel maybe we may not discuss that. I think we have to talk about trade in order to overcome our food deficit. The second part is, I like this panel, but this panel is incomplete. We cannot talk about agriculture without having the counties here. Agriculture is devolved as per our 2010 constitution, Schedule 4. It is entirely, production is entirely devolved. So we can talk about all the good things we are talking about, but the people to implement is governors. And if they don't have the passion to do it, then they will not do it. So we have to have them on board. And finally, and I'm happy the PS is here, in this country, if you look across, we have so many success cases. Start from KCCI, whom I was working with when I was Governor Kiambu. The innovations that these people have developed are so many. If you come to Unga, they have certain procurement systems that they have established with farmers. During the harvesting period, sometimes they set dryers. So there are certain innovations. You come to extension, there is innovations. FX, they have extension. The real thing is this. How can we upscale the successes that we are having? Because the successes are still isolated. How do we make them upscaled so that we have a global transformation? Thank you.
Great. Let's give him a hand clap for that. Thank you. I think you will respond to one or two of the questions. We'll take a couple more. Yes, go ahead. There's a gentleman here, and then we come to you at the back, sir. Here.
Ya, habari ya asubuhi wapendwa.
Mzuri sana.
Mimi naitwa Adam Gamange, natokea Tanzania, nawakilisha kampuni yangu ya ACB pamoja na TCA Uturuki. Lakini pia nawakilisha wakulima kutoka Tanzania. Na wakulima zaidi ya 13 tumekuja nao kujifunza na pia kushare contacts za biashara, masoko pamoja na mambo mengi hapa nimeyapata. Kwanza ni washukuru sana wa organizers.
Nafikiri hii ni muhimu sana. Tungeomba unyanyuke. Tungeomba tafadhali appreciate.
Kwa hiyo
East Africa hoye.
Oye. Kwa hiyo kwanza namshukuru kaka Tito kwa sababu ametoa opportunity kwa Watanzania kuja. Tuna Watanzania hapa na kuna watu wa DRC wanakuja pia kwa ajili ya kujifunza. Sio siri kwamba Kenya is a marketplace na Tanzania is a production place. Kwa hiyo we have to complement each other. It's a blessing kuwa na Tanzania, it's a blessing kuwa na Kenya. Kwa hiyo kuna mimi hapa nimejifunza hapa na nimefarijika kwa sababu nilikuwa na changamoto nyingi kuhusiana na masoko, lakini naona kwamba kuna issue ya masoko, lakini pia kuna financing na vitu mbalimbali. Swali langu moja tu kwamba sijajua jina la mheshimiwa pale, nimefurahi kuhusiana na kuinvest in farmers. Highly to invest in farmers. Najua tunazungumzia Kenya, lakini inakuwaje kuwazungumzia Tanzania kwa sababu na farmers hapa kutoka Tanzania? Ni vipi kampuni yake au taasisi yake ije Tanzania basi kuinvest? Kwa sababu tunajua kabisa kwamba mazao mnatoa kutoka Tanzania, au sio jamani? Na kama mnatoa kutoka Tanzania, sasa how do you invest in Tanzania? Kwa sababu ukiinvest in Tanzania farmers means you invest in the market in Kenya. Sasa mheshimiwa, tafadhali kama ataweza, kama iko njia ya pia kuja Tanzania kuinvest in farmers. Yes, Dr. James is my partner and is interested to do business in Tanzania. That's why he was mentioning about Dodoma, Singida. So please, how will you come to our place there to invest in farmers? Because most people, they invest in infrastructure. So it's a time now to invest in farmers, because once you invest in farmers, automatically invest in infrastructure. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's appreciate him once again. We'll take one more. Cleophas, I hope umemsikiza kwamba kuna soko Tanzania na kwamba unaweza kawekeza huko. Kwa hiyo uta respond. As he is being passed the microphone, please, I just want to remind all of us that we have a link with all the photos that are being taken here live. They are being posted in that link. A QR code will be provided where you will all be able to access all the pictures, all the videos, and you're able to post them on your social media channels. That's cool, right? Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, sir. Tell us your name, what you do, and ask your question.
Good morning. My name is Ian Kimathi. I'm a farmer from Kajiado County. So I have a couple of questions. The first one is on the issue of the illegalization of the indigenous seeds, sharing among the farmers. I would like to know, first of all, as the ambassador said, in Africa we have the advantage of us having the indigenous seeds and being productive to our health and our health systems. And what I know is that once somebody has captured your food production or the types of seeds, they capture your whole health system, your financial system. So how is it fair by the government to fine farmers up to $1 million shillings for us sharing the seeds which are indigenous? And yet we're being given seeds which may not be doing well. And we know the indigenous seeds have been there from our grandparents or grandparents, and it has been all through the line of, all through the lineage. So my other question is, as the governor said, we need to do more trading, but as a farmer, speaking from a farmer's perspective, right now, cabbage in Kinangop goes for 5 shillings. How are we capable to do that? How capable as farmers are we encouraged to farm again if you're going to sell a cabbage at 5 shillings? Whereas we're seeing trucks from here, just here at Marikiti, coming all the way from Tanzania. I don't know, is the government doing anything about that to help us farmers here in Kenya to get our money here in Kenya, to do the production here in Kenya, and have our items sold here in Kenya before going to fetch from outside? My other question is in regards to the investors. Let's talk, I'm from Kajiado, and we have very dry climate, but very good in production. But one thing we don't have is the water. And the investors, when you talk to them, they ask for a lot of collaterals as a youth. Maybe you ask for a title deed, you ask for a logbook or something like that, or a couple of guarantors. How lenient will you get to us as youth? Because we are the ones who are coming into the field of agriculture. I think generation above mine, most of them are doing the white-collar jobs, but we still need to eat. We still need to have production of food. We still need to feed our population, to have the food security in place. How are you going to be lenient on the youth, or what are you working around to enable us to have that water so that you can farm more efficiently and have better production for the future? Thank you.
Amazing. First of all, I just want to really appreciate the fact that you're a young man and you have considered agriculture. Let's appreciate him. That is not an attractive thing today for many people in the country, but I think we want to take those 3 sets of questions and then we continue. When we come back for the next round of questions, please let's have somebody from livestock, Please, go ahead. Yeah, whichever question you want to handle, sir.
Thank you very much. And these questions are very good because they add value to the conversation as we move on with this agenda. I really wish to appreciate the concerns by Honorable Nyoro. One thing I wish to appreciate is that he has done a lot of effort in line with the agriculture sector, even extension models in Kiabu, so many of them, and we really appreciate because it also adds to the pool of the extension methodologies that are existing in Kenya. So that is highly appreciated. And I really agree with you, especially where we talk of trade in agriculture. Again, if you look at the two levels of our farmers, we have the subsistence farmers who are mainly producing for food and any extra goes to the market. Then we have the other farmer who is commercial, who is able to do a good budget, good timing, and be able to focus the market. And that is where now the issue of the market pool comes on board. Do you start with producing, then you look for the market, or do you first of all look for the market, then you produce? That is the shift that we really need to move with so that we don't complain after we have invested so much in production and then we are looking for the market after that. How are we able to do this? Again, as I had mentioned earlier on, most of our farmers are relying on rainfall. And that means that rains will come, they come everywhere. Then they go from everywhere. So if we are able to enhance the water harvesting, then we are able to do the correct timing so that we are able to know the market. And that is where, as the government, we are doing a lot of market research so that we are asking ourselves, when is this particular product required and where, especially for the markets that are external. If it is Europe, when do we require a certain product? So that when we come to production, then we do the timing. So with water and some investments, you are able to schedule your production. At times, you realize that you get an order. As a farmer, you may get an order to supply a supermarket. But are you able to sustain that supply for the whole year? Again, no, because the rains will come and go. So I think that is an agenda that is very important. And also the issue of inclusion of the counties. I know maybe the organizers, maybe it was an oversight because as a government we are working very closely. So we are working as one team and we are actually very good partners. And the upscaling of innovations, this is very critical. We need these innovations across the value chains so that we are able to be a bit, a bit scientific in our farming. When do we do this? How do we do it? And all that. So this upscaling, we are doing very well so far. Again, as I indicated, our development partners and other stakeholders, we are working very closely on this. And maybe on the farmer from Kajiado, again, we highly appreciate the young farmer involvement. Again, our farmers are aged 60 to 65, so we are happy that the young farmer is around and going about this. Again, this cabbage challenge, it goes to the same starting point on the market. Because cabbages right now, every farmer has grown the cabbage because there is rainfall. So when it comes to harvesting, because they all are mature at the same time, then there will be an overproduction. And whenever there is an overproduction, the supply and demand principle will always come on board. But as maybe we may mention later on, issues on value addition. How can you add value to those cabbages so that you can shelf, you can keep them for another 6 months when there are no rains and when there is no oversupply? So thank you. My colleagues can handle the others, please.
Yeah, so thank you. And I think I'll address myself to two of the questions or comments that came from the floor. And one of them was about scaling innovations. As Kenya Climate Innovation Center, that is actually our core mandate, that we should be able to develop and have these innovations deployed. But in terms of scaling them up, it needs a whole ecosystem collaboration, because you'll find that as we develop these innovations, you'll find that most of these innovations actually are far much ahead of policy. So if the policy cannot catch up with some of these innovations, then it brings a challenge when it comes to scale up and adoption. So I think one of the areas that we need to work collaboratively is with policymakers, both at the national level and at county level, to ensure that there are adequate policies that will enable some of these innovations to scale. If I just give a good, for example, if somebody came up with a very good innovation, maybe for value addition for cabbage, for example, and this will make sure that he is able to value add a lot of cabbages. But when he wants to sell them, maybe he'll decide, because I don't have a clear market, as my colleague has said, he decides maybe I want to hawk. And if he decides to hawk on the street, the county government official will arrest that particular person because he's doing an illegal business. So we need to see that as we develop these innovations, that there's a good policy to support them. Also look at how do we fund them to ensure there's adoption. And that can then be done by either development partners, also government looking at it, so that we are able to scale these innovations. And for the young man from Kajiado, I think one of the things we need to do as a country is to change the narrative around agriculture. Because I think what has been informing agriculture is that it's for anyone who is about to retire or who has retired, who is over 65, using a hoe, and it's all about hard work. But I think that narrative needs to change, because right now, if you look at the Kenyan population, our youth are almost 60%, and all of them will not get white-collar jobs. So they need to look at what are the other ways that we can create jobs through agriculture. And as the population grows with the increased urbanization, agriculture has proven to be a very good area where now there are jobs. So look around areas around value addition. You could, for example, in Kajiado, aggregate farmers who are in livestock farming and aggregate them and do some value addition. From KCSC point of view, we have a program actually targeting youth and women in agriculture called Agri-Biz program. And you could also benefit from this particular program through the various funding instruments that are available, and we'll walk with you the journey of how you develop your innovations and ensure that it scale up and actually move to market. So in terms of even water harvesting, we have seen quite a number of innovations also coming up, and I think it's just good that we collaboratively work both in development world and government to ensure some of these innovations actually now benefit the actual farmer. Because it's one thing having it in my center, but if it's not being applied, for example, in Turkana, Garissa, Wajir, where it's needed, then it will not be benefiting the country as we speak. Yeah, so thanks.
Guess it's back. Sorry. I'd like to allow Cleophas to begin with responding to the question from Tanzania, and then begin with your closing remarks as we end the live program.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll come to you, Taglero.
Yeah. So I want to appreciate the comment from a farmer from Tanzania. So I want to say that the origin of FX is Nigeria. And last year, they decided to expand to 10 more African countries. We've done Kenya, this is our second season, doing Uganda, we are doing Rwanda, so we are coming to Tanzania very soon. So for the farmer from Kajiado, I think the issue here is like basically what we still need to do is to look into like the conditions need to for farmers to be financed. Like what is said about for some financials to finance a farmer, they need title deed, they need a lot of conditions. So like we as FX, we do smallholder farmers. And there are no collaterals. We don't need title deed. We just have basic credit checks. So long as the chief, the local administration knows you, you have a farm, we just do simple checks, and most of the smallholder farms can be able to access that finance. And if now they access finance, they improve on their production. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Your closing remarks as we begin, and then we come this way.
So I want to appreciate this expo, and I think farmers, we need to invest more in farming and make farming as a business, with all stakeholders supporting farmers, like as what the guy from the ministry is saying, that we need to study for market, get market, so that we can have farmers, encourage farmers to produce, having in mind that they have where to sell. Because if you don't have where to sell, you'll not invest more. And that will make farming more profitable and will make people to invest in more, doing it as a business. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, Anton or Susan, closing remarks?
Thank you again for this opportunity. I'm just looking through the notes. There's lots of things that resonate with us as UNGA. Again, I would also like to acknowledge Mr. Kamati and also reiterate that, you know, for us, it's absolutely crucial that farming becomes what do you call it? It needs to be not a practice of last resort, but it needs to be a profession of choice, right? That implies some professionalism, because our business model is based on the fact that we need successful farmers, right? Farmers that are successful in producing economical and high quality harvest, and also farmers that will then expand into either animal husbandry, chicken farming, or any other farming. I think we need to focus on having the right farming practices in the right place, right? And that might also help with the seasonality of your cabbages, because you know, now everyone's cabbages are maturing at the same time, where if it's spread across the country, you can get a better market price, right? Because the market forces, supply and demand will mean that if there's more demand, then the price will go up. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think also value addition for us is very important. It's something that we also would like to really watch with interest. If you can do value addition, reducing post-harvest losses is also a form of value addition, right?
Sure.
The right drying practices. You know, if we say 30% of the crop is being lost post-harvest, that's a huge amount, which also can go back to the farmer. So,
all right. All right, thank you. I think I'm going to have Balozi Teglas give her closing remarks, and we'll end it at there, now that our time with the beet farmer is spent. Go ahead, Tegla.
Thank you very much. I just want to appreciate my brother from Kajiado, and to encourage him that continue doing what you are doing. And also there is a problem whereby we as Africa or African, anything new that comes to our country, we always ready to accept for seedling. Sometimes our soil can be different from others. When you talk about our origin seedling that we have, we need also to ask government that they need to preserve these great seedlings so that we have our origin. I want to give you one example from sports. There was a manager from China in 1993. His athlete ran very well from nowhere. What they told us that this athlete, they drink a tortoise blood. So everybody want to drink tortoise blood. Because people are desperate, they want to run the pace.
To run like him.
Yes, but for us, Kenyans, we said no. We can eat ukali, and we'll manage. So all of a sudden, the European athletes start to eat ukali. It's the same thing that now we are introducing different seeds, foreigner seeds that cannot hold in our countries.
Thank you, Balozi. Thank you so much. Our time is far much spent, but thank you for those very good sentiments. I hope you found value in this panel. Please let's appreciate them once again. From my immediate right, Mr. Kumunyu from the ministry, Ernest Chitechi from